Welcome back, YouTube. Today I'm going to show you guys an effective quad workout using only this band and a couple of very light weights. Let's go. Alright, so probably the biggest issue that you're going to encounter when it comes to training your lower body at home is getting an effective workout in, because you'll be limited by the amount of load you can use. Now, granted, some of you guys will have access to things like barbells and plates and squat racks and maybe even very, very heavy dumbbells. But for a lot of us, we're confined at home to a very, very small space. I don't have a lot of these different weights and plates available to us to be able to load our body appropriately. So it can be quite limiting. And when you're stuck with just your body weight or very, very, very light weights, you might be tempted to do one of two things. The first thing might be just to do a lot of very, very, very high repetitions, which honestly, in terms of muscle building stimulation, or at least from a preservation perspective, could still yield some kind of response. But the issue there is that it's probably going to be quite boring to be doing 1,000 bodyweight squats or to do 100 alternating lunges. So you're probably not going to be able to follow through with that and continue with it long term. The other thing that I'm seeing a big trend of at the moment is a lot of plyometric based work, where people are doing things like box jumps or squat jumps or alternating jump lunges and all of these different athletic style explosive movements. And these exercises, hey, they're fantastic if that was your goal, to be more explosive or if you train more from a sport specific perspective. But keep in mind, a lot of these workouts that are programming these kinds of things in, they're doing it to very, very high reps and they're doing it to fatigue. Now, when you have something like high explosive, high impact exercises done under fatigued conditions, where you need a lot of coordination, for example, something like a jump alternating lunge, that to me is a recipe for disaster. That to me, like, without trying to be like a fearmonger in terms of injury risk, but the injury risk there increases dramatically, especially when you consider the fact that most of us who have been spending a long time training in gyms, we've been training in a controlled environment, using weights, using free weights, using machines in a controlled manner. We haven't really been doing much of this explosive paced plyometric style work. Now, I do agree that we should definitely be looking at incorporating some of that, because it could be helpful from a moreover like longevity, general health perspective. But if we're looking at trying to get as much stimulation in the muscle as possible to, at the very least, preserve that tissue, if not grow it even further, we have to be a little bit more intelligent with our exercise selection and with our training. So what I'm going to show you guys is, using this band and a couple of very light weights, how we're going to be able to have a productive quad workout that doesn't have you doing a billion reps and doesn't have you resorting to things like plyometric training and jump training that are largely ineffective anyway from a muscle building perspective. And again, we don't want to be looking at the potential danger of doing those exercises in a fatigued state and potentially snapping something long term. Because the worst thing with any of these kinds of lockdowns, when you're confined to be training just in your own home, is one thing, you can't train, but the worst thing would happen at this point is if you were to actually get injured. So let's have a look at these exercises. Exercise number one is we're going to use this band. We're going to perform a bodyweight leg extension. So I'll show you first of all, just without the band at all, because this might be the first progression that you use, just to get comfortable with the movements. We're going to be in a push-up position, and you put your feet up on, you won't have a bench, I mean, unless if you do have a bench, but we'd be using maybe a couch, a seat, anything you have available. Feet up here, push-up position, and all we're going to do is extend our legs and lock the knees out. Now, honestly, here in this position, this is actually very, very easy. And I think apart from just your shoulders maybe holding your body weight, you should be able to perform this with relative ease. When we add the band tension to this is when it's going to increase the difficulty of the movement dramatically. Now, with bands, again, bands come in many, many different shapes and sizes. This is quite a large resistance band. This one is graded at about 45 to 55 kilograms, which is, I found to be quite challenging and heavy for me for this exercise, but you can get lighter ones as well, you can get heavier ones as well. I think a good set of bands will carry you very, very far when it comes to training at home or with limited equipment. So what we're going to do with this band, we're going to loop it around the back of our knees, and we're going to get into that exact same push-up position, except right back down. That didn't happen. We'll cut that out, we'll edit that out. Push-up position, right there. Feet go up on the couch, and we're gonna perform the exact same leg extension motion. Straight up and back down. Straight up and back down. So in terms of where this exercise is providing the peak amount of resistance, it's at the top here, when the band is outstretched. In all honesty, at the bottom from around here, you're not really getting much out of this whatsoever, because the band is slack and I'm just supporting my body weight here, and a lot of my body weight is actually going through my shoulders. So this bottom position here is not really that challenging. So we're doing this exercise to stimulate the quads and hopefully hit a fatigue point right here. Stretch back out and pushing straight back up. If you have this band and you want to make it a little bit more challenging, what we can do is, instead of having the band outstretched like this on the ground, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of slack in this end here and grab in a little bit closer. So what this does is it creates more tension in the band back here behind my legs. So instead of having the band stretched out like that, I'm bringing it in like this and creating, a lot of tension. I actually think this might be a bit heavy for me, but we'll see what happens. Back up. Oh, okay. So now even holding this position here, where my quads are stretched out, that is actually pretty damn challenging. From here, we're going to do the exact same thing and extend straight up. All right, that was about 75, right, Cav? Yeah, 75, 76 reps. We'll do a loop of that. So, band tension, maximal tension right in that peak contraction there. For reps, you want to aim for about 6 to 10 reps, hitting that failure point. And then we're going to move straight in as a giant set to exercise number 2. So we're going to go over to another station now. Exercise number 2, we are doing a banded squat variation with a little bit of heel elevation. We're going to be doing this with a bottom partial emphasis. So there's a lot going on here. Let's break it down piece by piece. First of all, we have a heel elevation. So I'm using a couple of plates here, but you could use a couple of books or whatever you have lying around the house. This is going to allow you to hit more depth and range of motion at the knee joint to take the quads through a greater range of motion. We've also got a pole, although I would actually recommend using a wall. The reason why we're doing it here in front of a pole is because there's really good lighting here, and the lighting up against the walls in this place is not that fantastic. And we also have a foam roller, although this could also be a fit ball or anything round, cylindrical in nature that you can use to push up against and to roll up and down. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to start with standing on the band, and we're going to take a comfortable stance, wherever that may be for you, and you're going to put the band up over your shoulders. Make sure you put it over your shoulders, you don't put it over your neck, like this, because it's going to be cranking your head and your neck forwards. Instead, you want to have it nicely snug down lower across your traps or your shoulders. You'll find that much more comfortable. Now, we also do have some dumbbells, although these are only 20 pounds, and this is actually more than enough weight for me to be doing this exercise. So you'll probably find that it is very easy to find something, if you don't have dumbbells, that is heavy enough to challenge you for this exercise. It might be a couple of buckets, it might be a slab of water bottles, it could be some books, you might even just put a backpack on and hold it to your chest, could be a couple of bags of rice. Be a little bit more creative here, whatever you have lying around the house. So we're going to use the foam roller up against the wall or the pole to give us something to push back into, to provide a lot more stability, and to allow us to recreate something like a hack squat or a leg press. It's going to give you the opportunity to use a lot more output from your legs and really challenge them. So standing up here, you want to stand all the way up, heels elevated, and place the roller or the ball just above the arch of your back. Now, even without weights, just doing this exercise where we're going to make sure it's balanced, we're going to squat down and squat up, that is quite challenging on its own. Where normally in a typical squat, if you were doing it as on with a barbell or body weight, the squat itself usually gets much easier as you reach this top lockout position. But not anymore. When you have the band tension here, the band resistance increases as we reach this lockout position. So normally, instead of it being like very, very easy here, it's now very, very challenging in this position. So we're getting challenged through the entire range of motion of the squat. So from here, we're going to squat all the way down. We're going to grab onto these dumbbells and we're going to start doing our reps with the bottom partial emphasis. So come all the way up, pushing back, oops, right there, all the way down, do a quarter rep just to there, back down, and all the way back up. The entire time I think about pushing myself back into the wall, back into this foam roller or fit ball or whatever you have available to you, and pulse at the bottom there, and pushing back up. So the pulse at the bottom, that's to make the most of the fact that here we are in a mechanical disadvantage. That is where the muscles are being challenged the most because of the mechanics of the movement, and the dumbbells are going to provide a lot of resistance here. Then as we come up, normally the weight would drop off if it was just dumbbells, but by having the band tension here, it's becoming a lot more difficult. So we've just done between 6 to 10 reps of leg extensions. We've come straight over here, and we're going to be doing as many reps as we can of this 1¼ reps. Again, aiming for about 6 to 10-ish reps, depending on how much weight you have available. But with this kind of bottom partial emphasis, you'll be surprised just how much this challenges your quads. And now we're working this more through the entire range of motion, where the bodyweight leg extension was only really challenging the most in the locked out squeezing position. This is challenging through the entire range of motion. I'm going to stop there. So that's exercise 2 in your superset. Giant set. Exercise 3, we're going to look at one of 2 variations of a sissy squat. If we're doing the conventional sissy squat, we're going to stand up, grab onto something. This could even be standing up in between a doorway for a little bit of balance. And all you want to do is come up onto your toes, push your hips forward so you're in hip extension, and you want to try to get your knees tracking as far forwards as possible towards the ground. Now, this I do understand is a little bit more of a vulnerable exercise. It's putting your knees into a more of a vulnerable position, not because it's knees over toes, because the knees are supposed to and they're allowed to travel over the toes, but this is a very extreme stretch where the muscles may not be able to contract as efficiently as we do in other positions. So I would say proceed with caution with this full sissy squat variation. It's definitely not for everybody. Instead of starting out with this, I would recommend we start with a variation, which is the reverse Nordic curl, which is where we're going to be kneeling down. Whether you have your toes up like this or you're sitting back on your toes could be completely up to you. So I prefer to go up here, but bring it down to comfort. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So because we have this stability around our knee joint here, that takes away a lot of the inherent risk that's in place from the normal sissy squat that I just showed you. So have your hips forward, squeezing your glutes, tucking your pelvis under, hands across your chest, or you might even be, if you need the assistance, hanging onto something like a doorway for a little bit of assistance as you come down. And then we're just going to extend our body straight back up. Stretching out here as far back as you can comfortably go, and then extending straight back up again. So you'll find doing these 2 movements in a sequence, you'll probably get to about 10-ish reps here before your quads start feeling like they're about to explode. So I'm going to do just that there, and that's more than enough for my legs. Shake it out a little bit, and we'd rest and go through maybe 2 or 3 total rounds of that sequence. So there you have it, guys, a very short, sharp, and effective way to be maximally stimulating your quads using very, very minimal equipment. Give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. I think you guys are really going to love, especially this squat variation here with the dumbbells and the band and heel elevation. It's definitely one of my absolute favorites. I was really surprised just how much it actually hurt and how much soreness it gave me and how much of a pump it gave me when I did it, when I was working this exercise out as a movement to show you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, if you have any other questions, drop them in the comment section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and do all of those really good things that will make me smile. And I'll see you guys next time.